Okay, hello there. Well, I've just spent a bit of time, a few hours, going over, not everything, but a selection of government representatives' statements to do with this coronavirus pandemic. I don't know, but I would hope, well, maybe you're not quite as angry as me because I think that might not be very good for your health. But I do hope you're agitated, at the very least, by the blatant and demonstrable lies that we're constantly being fed by the government. Now, not that this is anything new. This has always happened, hasn't it? But, you know, social media does give us, you know, the fantastic ability to instantly fact check and refute. Shame more of the mainstream media journalists don't take that opportunity, isn't it? But I thought I would spend a few hours this morning going through. So I've got some notes here. Some are from Boris Johnson. Some are from the Chief Medical Officer, what's his name, Sir Patrick Vallance. Some are from the Secretary of State for Health, Matt Hancock. Some are from our Home Secretary, Priti Patel. They were the ones that I found the most difficult to listen to, actually, I have to say. I'll confess that straight up front. It really hurt my head having to go back and watch her performance. I mean, any of her performances, but this was the one where she was actually giving the daily press briefing. I mean, part of it is just sheer comedy. You can't help but laugh. But anyway, so I think that's all the people that I've got in here, yes. And I've done them sort of chronologically, and like I said, this is by no means an exhaustive study. Yeah, I'd need a week of solid time to do that, and frankly, well, I suppose I can't really say I haven't got the time, but I don't have the inclination. Okay, but this I feel gives a pretty good outline as to the complete bullshit and changing of stories that the government are trying to tell us is the truth. So, here we are. On February the 3rd, and this was a speech by Boris Johnson. You know, I don't know who the audience exactly were. They were clearly, you know, it was clearly a supportive audience, a right-wing audience. And this was a talk, I think, more about Brexit. I didn't listen to all of it, but anyway, and I will put a link in the description to all of these clips. All of them are on YouTube, so you can actually go and check that they. And this is a verbatim. I've made a transcript. Okay, I've sat here and written it all down in longhand. Except for the Matt Hancock one, which I thought, well, it's just a lot easier to give you his article in the Telegraph. So that's literally, he's had to write that, and I haven't had to write anything down. So excellent. So February the 3rd, here we are. This is Boris. Sorry, Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson, I should say. Let's just call him de Pfeffel from now on, because everybody knows this Boris character is just this ho ho ho. Everybody thinks Boris is a good chap. Whereas, I don't know if you're aware of this, but all his inner circle, I believe, his family and close people, they call him Alex, okay? So he's not Boris, the ho-ho-ho, he's Alex. Anyway, so, and I'm not going to put an accent on, even though it might be difficult at times not to lapse into it, so forgive me. February the 3rd, here we go. The more freely goods cross borders, the less likely it is troops will cross borders. I'm here to warn you today, free trade is being choked. When there's a risk that new diseases, such as coronavirus, will trigger a panic and a desire for market separation that will go beyond what is medically rational to the point of doing real and unnecessary economic damage, then humanity, oh, the humanity, that wasn't him, that was me. To make the case powerfully then humanity needs some government to make the case powerfully for freedom of exchange. Some country ready to take off its Clark Kent spectacles and emerge from the phone box with its cape flowing as the supercharged champion of the right of populations of the earth to buy and sell freely. I mean, this is kind of, very, very clearly setting out the stall of where their position regarding this whole coronavirus, the government's position, I mean, came from. They're coming at it from an economic damage point of view, first and foremost. Not very similar, exactly the same to the leader of the free world, Mr. Trump. Yeah? Exactly the same. They're saying, in effect, well, the economy is more important than, any ridiculous measures that might save a few lives, but goodness, look at the cost. Listen to Fox News. The cure can't be more damaging than the disease, I believe, is the one-liner that they're using. Back to Boris. I can tell you with all humility, he's well known for his humility, isn't he? So, there you go. With all of it he's giving us, not just a little bit of it, all of it, that the UK is ready for that role. Superman de Pfeffel. Yeah? Can you see him with his underpants over his trousers and his cape billowing behind? We are limbering up to use reserves and muscles and instincts that have not been used for 50 years, half a century, and we haven't gone into that phone box. We haven't pulled our underpants on over our trousers and donned that cape. Half a century. I think you'll agree with me. It's about bloody time we did, isn't it? So that was February the 3rd. March the 5th. This was on Good Morning Britain. He comes charging in bullishly into the studio, straight up to Philip, and I'm terribly sorry, I don't watch it, I don't have a TV, I can't remember her name. She is very attractive. I do like her. She's got a nice personality, and I think she's quite good, the way, they bounce off each other, don't they? Anyway, what do I know? I don't really watch it that much. Straight up to them, shakes their hands. Marvellous. Back to Boris. For the overwhelming number of people who get this, it'll be a mild to moderate illness. Nothing to worry about, We're not saying it's like the cold or the flu, but for most people, it will be. And that actually sounds like it is a true statement, okay? But most people, it'll be a mild to moderate illness. The single best thing we can do, and it will be like this for a long time, so accepting that things are going to be going on for a long time, but only the little things that we're doing. The most important thing we can do is wash our hands. And then Philip goes, did you wash your hands before you came in and shook my hand? And Boris de Pfeffel looks kind of, oh, of course, I'm always washing my hands. Yes. Back to Boris. I've been going round hospitals and you always shake hands. There you go. As he said, he was, and it, when he joked, I can't remember where this was on, it wasn't on Good Morning Britain, saying, oh, well, I was at a hospital, I believe there were a few coronavirus patients there as well, and I was still shaking hands, I don't think he actually shook hands with the coronavirus patients, but everybody else, job's a good one, yep. Got to keep up those good British traditions, stiff upper lip, shaking hands. At the moment, what the scientists are telling me, somewhat counterintuitively, you might think that this sounds like nonsense, but what I'm telling you is the science is telling you that it isn't nonsense. Stopping big gatherings doesn't work as well as people might think. So there's no point doing it. It doesn't work as well as people think. I mean, people might think it's, the cure-all, mightn't they? What he's saying is, it's not the cure-all, So really, it doesn't work as well as you think, so there's no point doing it. One of the theories is, perhaps you could sort of take it on the chin. Come on, put them up. Let's have, I took it on the chin, I tell you what. Perhaps you could just take it on the chin, take it all in one go, and allow the disease to move through the population without taking as many draconian measures. We need to strike a balance. By draconian measures, I think he means things that will affect the economy. You know, I am there putting words in his mouth. I'll let you decide from the other things that he's said that we've heard before. We will give the NHS all the support that they need, that they have all the preparations and kit that they need. So he's saying the NHS is going to have everything. This was on the 5th of March. The NHS is going to have everything it needs. Don't you worry about that. What's SAGE, which is the, oh goodness, that's the medical people, isn't it? Oh, it's for emergencies. You know, I should have written that down anyway. But what SAGE will be thinking about today is how to protect the elderly and those with pre-existing conditions. Because, I mean, I suppose we shouldn't really dismiss out of hand the idea of herd immunity. You know, it is, I suppose, a valid course of action if and only if those things that he just said were absolutely going to happen. Yeah? If your medical system is stocked to the eyeballs, it has everything, then okay, if we can flatten the curve and raise our capability to deal with this, what will be a large influx of people, even if we're flattening the curve, okay, well, maybe that's not a bad idea. But it's not what we did, is it? As we'll see. Because, as we know, many frontline workers are dead. Already. They're dead already. Many, and I'm not just talking about NHS staff here, but obviously the NHS staff are right at the very front of this fight. Going into work. Yesterday we heard, well, they've run out of gowns, so they're being asked to use aprons, things like that. This is such a disgrace. We're asking people literally to go in without the protection they need, the protection that I'm very surprised the law doesn't demand. Or am I surprised? There's another video. And some of them will inevitably contract the virus and die as a result. So I would say very much that obviously means that government ministers are personally, criminally responsible for these deaths. Okay? Now, on March 13th, Sir Patrick Vallance, the Chief Scientific Advisor, was asked some questions. This was, I believe it was on Sky News. Why is the UK's advice different to other countries, was the first question. We're taking advice from a broad range of academics to form a plan that actually does what we want it to do. Actually does. Like these other countries, they've got a plan and they're doing stuff which seems a bit, you know, a bit of a stronger action than us, but it's not really having the right effect, is it? Look at them, you know. Listen to us. And what they want it to do is to flatten and broaden the curve and protect the elderly and the vulnerable. I mean, you can't disagree with these statements. You know, we do want to protect the elderly and the vulnerable, don't we? We do want to flatten and broaden the curve. But it doesn't really appear that the things that we have been doing, certainly up to that point, have really been, you know, going to be having the effect that we say that we want. Second question. Why, if you're trying to delay the spread, were we allowing society to continue as normal? No shutdowns or a lockdown? The answer. Well, the UK has done a good job of contact tracing and isolating. So the first phase of this means we're a little behind in terms of where the outbreak is compared to other countries. That doesn't make any sense to me, okay? It doesn't seem to follow. A bit of a non sequitur. He goes on. And the self-isolation measures are going to mean a large number of people at home, and that will have a big impact. So what he's saying is, we don't need to have a lockdown, no, we don't need to ban mass gatherings or anything like that, no. Just the people who've got the symptoms, they're staying at home, well, that's going to have a massive impact. So I think you're getting a bit ahead of yourself.